welcome back to the shop. This is Waters Ironworks, and this is my buddy Rufus here. He's my my 1-year-old cat, and we have, since we got him, started going through a whole lot of cans of cat food. And in order to open those cans, we've got a little pull tab, and so I thought I'd make a project today that'll make my life a little bit easier and make him a little bit happier. So we're going to be taking a look at the Everyday Blacksmith, and we're going to be making a can tab opener. So we'll make that. We'll put him inside for a little bit while we do, and then we'll bring it back out. We'll open it up and see whether or not it works in order to get him lunch today. We've got the cap put up. We've got the stock, 3/8 inch round stock heating up here on the fire. I've got my anvil marked out as well. The first thing we're going to need to do is flatten about 8 inches of the material to 3/4 of an inch wide. So let's start on that. And real simple, right? Coming in on the sides now, just squaring things up. I want to make sure I'm about 3/4 of an inch. I'm probably a little under there. I like how wide this looks. So we'll get this hot again. The next step that we're going to do is making the handle on this end here. So I'm going to take 1 1/4 inches and set that down to about half its original thickness. I'm going to want to be careful about this rolling over, so I'll give it some correcting blows here. And I think I said half its original width. Looking at the instructions, I actually want to go more than that. Take a couple heats here. No reason to press this too hard. That's about the thickness I want, and I'm going to work on drawing this out now. An important thing to keep in mind, put a taper on that. When you're working with smaller pieces of steel like this, it's tempting to work them too cold. And if that metal flexes back and forth a lot, you're going to wind up developing cracks in it. So I'd rather stop a little early, back in the fire, make sure everything's good and hot so that I don't get any cracks. I don't do anything that's going to cause problems for my project where I've got to cut something off and then remake it. So careful with your heat, don't push it too far. Let's finish up a little bit of a taper here. That out nice and thin there. We'll straighten this up a little bit. I don't think I want it thicker than the rest of the stock, so I'm going to thin it out this way a little bit. I'm going to take one more heat at that, just finish that taper up. Just going to bring that taper out a little bit more. Make it all nice and attractive, good and square. I think I will knock the edges, corners off this, just so they're not sharp and it doesn't catch anything. And let's talk about the next part that we're going to do, and that is coming here to the horn of the anvil and wrapping this around to make a little handle. You can hang this on a keychain, something like that. Where you're most likely to go wrong with this is that you over scroll this, right? You make that loop too tight and it doesn't look very attractive. We're going to do that on purpose, and then we'll talk about how you can go in and fix that as well. So let's look at what happens. We bend this too much, right? We're going to come around and we're going to wind up with something like that, where we've overbent. Extremely easy to fix this. We're going to take one more heat on it. We're going to put it on the anvil. We're just going to hammer down the length of the anvil. As that material goes down the anvil, it's going to force the horn of the anvil. It's going to force it to open up until we get it to the point that we want it at. So we're overbent. We're just going to come, hammer down the length of the anvil. Not a whole lot there that we needed to do. Come in, close that up. I think I might bring it here to the horn of the anvil again. Give it a couple taps. And maybe still a little overbent there. Let's get that hot one more time and correct the shape of that on the horn of the anvil here. So as I bent this back, that changed again the shape that this takes. And so I need to go in and put a little bit more bend here and a little less bend in this section. So I'm going to bend that a little bit more. Look at that. Maybe I didn't need to do as much correction as I thought. I'm actually going to give that a little bit of a quench right there. And I do need to actually open that up. Again, because I quenched it, let's cool that down or heat that up and then just finish shaping. You can obviously do a lot of tweaking. One of the challenges, if you do it right the first time, these things tend to go pretty smooth. When you get it wrong, it can be a lot of kind of fiddling back and forth. In general though, what you're looking for, because we're trying to make a circle, right? So the questions in my mind are, where do I have it not curving enough? Where is it too flat? And where is it over curving? And I want to try and make sure that it's evenly curved the whole way around. I think we're just about there. So just bend that a little bit more. That looks pretty good. All right, so we've got the back end done. The next thing we're going to do is come in and cut this off at about 3.5 inches, so right there. My thickness changes a little bit. I might give it a hammer blow or two before I cut it, but we'll cut it off, we'll flip it around, and finish working on this end. So let's get this hot, and I'm going to grab my cutoff. A couple more blows back here, straighten things up. Drop my cutoff in there. Looking for something like not that much. Once I've cut most of the way through, I'm going to grab a pair of flat jaw tongs here. Break that off. Flip it around and put this end into the fire. We're going to clean it up a little bit, and then we're going to do a set down that will determine if this is right-handed or left-handed, and will be used to actually open up the can. So let's get that hot. All right, I am right-handed, so I'm going to want to put this across the anvil like that. And thin out this final section even more. That hot one more time. This thin metal is going to cool real quickly on us. What we're doing is just creating a little bit of an offset so that as I'm holding this thinnest part will slip easily under the can tab. Take one more heat at that. All right. rather than trying to round these real thin corners with the hammer, what I'm going to do, you want to follow me back here. Come to the grinder real quick. Round that off a little bit. While we're here, let's also go ahead and clean this up. Let's grab beeswax if we're still hot enough there. It looks like we are. All right, let's go ahead and quench and turn off the power tools that we're not using. Into the water. It's going to cool down nice and quick. It's looking pretty good. So, let's grab Rufus again and see whether or not this will open up a can of cat food for him for lunch. We've got Rufus, we've got a can of cat food. This Tiki Cat, extremely healthy cat food. Not actually his favorite, but let's see whether or not it opens. It looks like it does, easily pulls that can open. What do you think, buddy? No? That too healthy for you? Don't want to eat on my shoulder? Well, the important thing is the can opener opens. And this, I think, is a great little project. It'll be nice to have around the kitchen. Obviously, nice and flat as well. So if you wanted to stamp something in, like the word meow or the name of your cat, or your dad's name or something like that for somebody who's maybe using this to open beer, great, simple project to make. And something good to give away. All right. Thank you guys so much. I'll see you again soon.